Hello, everyone. Now you will hear a short summary of the film Crime City 2. Enjoy watching. One young and very rich Korean came to Vietnam to build a hotel here. He was invited to talk in a van by some punks, supposedly also businessmen. They did not talk for long. The guy was beaten, cut, and eventually kidnapped. Things are not calm in Korea either. A crazy guy is waving a knife and threatening to cut everyone. The cops were scratching their heads and waiting for Detective Strongman to finally show up. Strongman was on a date, but managed to come to the rescue of his colleagues. While they were distracting the psychopath, Strongman was supposed to come from behind, but accidentally hit a rack with goods. However, Strongman was not embarrassed, but simply threw the psycho over himself and broke his arm. The fool began to bite, for which he was sent into a deep knockout with one blow. In the end, the journalist presented Krepik's heroism as abuse of power. The captain reprimanded Krepik and ordered him to go to Vietnam. One of the wanted criminals showed up at the Korean consulate. It is necessary to find out why he did this. The captain will go with Krepik. True, they were detained at the airport by Vietnamese border guards. The cops were taken by a consulate employee who treated them to drinks. There are many Korean bandits hiding in Vietnam. Krepik wanted to beat them up, but the captain held him back. After all, they came on another matter. Right there, the detective met an old friend of Kerosene who does business with margarine here. They warned the visitors that, unlike the Korean ones, the local bandits always carry firearms with them. Many tourists from Korea disappear in Vietnam. It's time to talk to the new bandit. This is the guy who introduced the businessman to the thugs. For some reason, Chihun refuses to tell the truth. Krepik asked the captain to be on guard and began interrogating him with partiality. First, he stuck his finger into his neck and then began to unscrew Chihun's ear. The criminal continued to evade. In the end, Chihun told about his accomplice, who allegedly wanted to kill him. The partners arrived in a dangerous area of the city. Krepik entered the building and saw that someone had already killed the fat bandit. Apparently, Chihun was not telling them something. They would have to break him in several places. But Chihun finally spoke. They kidnapped a Korean businessman. True, he didn't have much money with him. Because of this, a conflict arose between the bandits. The guy took advantage of the moment, ran out of the car, and tried to hide in the field. Unfortunately, he was unable to escape from the bandits. The Korean said that he left $200,000 in cash in his room. The bandits immediately cheered up, but then the thug came out of the bushes and hacked the poor guy to death with a cleaver. One of the bandits started to get indignant because they hadn't taken the money yet. Kan's friend Dodik finished him off. Chikhun and the potlady had to bury the bodies. Dodik meanwhile took 200,000 in gold bars from the room. However, Kan wasn't satisfied. He chopped off the dead guy's hand, took a photo of it, and sent it with him to his parents. Allegedly, he would save their son's life for $500,000. When Kan received the money, the potlady and Chikhun ran away, but in the end, only Chikhun survived. The strong man intends to find this bastard. However, he has no authority in this country. Chikhun told where they buried the bodies. And after working with a shovel, the cops found 4 corpses. The detective called Kerosene and found out that besides him, Kim was also wanted by a local bandit named Rack. Some serious people discovered the scumbag's lair. In his suitcase were $1.5 million in gold bars. Apparently, he killed a lot of people. Krepik visited Rack's underground casino. They tried to detain him, and then the big guy started to destroy the cabins. Krepik took the gun from Rack and started asking questions. The bandit said that he had received an order from some mercenaries from Korea. He had to figure out Kansas Borzoi did just that. Krepik also found out that the father of the murdered businessman was a famous Korean billionaire. Korean mercenaries were hiding in Kan's lair. He immediately guessed about the ambush and nevertheless entered the room that he dragged one of the Koreans into the bathroom and chopped him into mincemeat. The rest gathered in the hallway. Dodik came in from the other side. They started working with their cleavers like 2 mixers and chopped the bandits into pieces. The numerical superiority of their opponents did not bother them at all. True, Dodik was wounded in the stomach. Kan rescued him and turned to the leader of the mercenaries. Under torture, he confessed that he was sent by the father of the dead guy. Kan immediately called the billionaire. On Borzov's tip, Korean cops arrived at the scene of the massacre. They found not only chopped meat, but also a bunch of suitcases. Apparently, Can had hunted Korean tourists before. Suddenly, a thug flew into the room and stuck a cleaver into the captain. Krepik attacked him. The detective had to fight both butchers at the same time. He knocked out Dodik, but tried to escape. During the fight, Dodik still saved his friend, but he himself suffered a skull fracture. The captain was hospitalized. Colleagues found out that Can killed tourists all over South Asia, that he demanded ransom for kidnapped people, but never returned anyone. The Vietnamese authorities do not like the independent activity of Koreans, so they are deported back to their homeland. However, before that, Krepik visited Dodik and asked him a couple of questions. The detective found out that Can went to Korea and was going to take his money from the billionaire, so it was time for them to return home as well. Krepik found an old acquaintance who helps illegal immigrants cross into Korea. Their communication with Chapushala is very specific. The fraudster checked information on ships that arrive from China to Korea. All that was left was to look at the security cameras at the port. The cops looked at the footage and spotted Kong stealing a car. The police came to the funeral of the murdered guy. He was the only son of a businessman, so he hired dozens of killers to find Kong. The stolen car was found near the railroad, but there were no leads. Kong carefully wiped off all the fingerprints. Everyone was looking for this thug, and in the meantime, he himself had gotten close to the billionaire. A fight broke out. A huge bodyguard was close to strangling Kong, but the butcher cut his throat and pissed his body with sparks. Mercenaries were waiting for Kong downstairs, but he did not come here alone, but with assistance, the same thugs who chopped up the bandits with axes. Thus, Kong kidnapped one of the most influential people in Korea, *. The man's thumb was immediately cut off and a ransom of $2 million was demanded. The stump was sent to his wife by mail. Those two are brothers. They helped Can kidnap tourists in the Philippines. The businessman's wife, Ji Yong, refused to send the money to the kidnapper's account. Only a personal exchange, $2 million in cash in exchange for a living husband. Can agreed and set a meeting place. The woman warned that she would take a driver with her. Like, she doesn't drive a car herself. The cops need their own man, and the tough guy realized that a lover of egg clamps would suit him. The tough guy dragged Chapushala to the police station without further ado. Meanwhile, the bandits agreed with a certain skipper to help them escape. From Korea on his boat, Chapushala threw a suitcase with money into Ji Yong's car. The thug brothers are already following them. The cops are not visible, although they are already following the object in several cars. Meanwhile, Buratino is trying to find the businessman. Judging by the recording, he is being held somewhere in the industrial zone. At some point, Kong ordered Ji Yong to turn around. Thus, the scumbag is trying to figure out his tail. They had to change direction 5 more times. At this rate, the cops will either lose them or get caught. After a long search, Buratino found the car in which the businessman was kidnapped. So he is somewhere here. The policeman found the man in one of the rooms and was already leading him to the exit, but suddenly Kong stabbed him in the side several times. Fortunately, reinforcements arrived, and the thug did not have time to finish what he started. Kong escaped. The businessman was saved, which means the brothers can be arrested. The boss warned them that they need to run. There is a tail behind them. Stop commanding. There is no tail behind us. You are just a coward. It was too early for Chapushala to relax. He was the one who had to block the brothers' car at the crossroads. However, the bandits attacked first. Escaping, Chapushala drove into an underground parking lot. He licked his lips at the suitcase with money for a long time, and when Zion got out of the car, Chapushala simply stole it along with the money. One of the brothers climbed onto the car, but the driver easily threw him off and ran away. The scumbag was almost unharmed, so he took out an axe and attacked the young cop. His partner ran up in time. The guys grabbed the bandit and smashed his head into the car window. One brother was arrested, while the second one was chasing Zion with a knife. The woman tried to hide in the shopping center, but at some point, the thug finally caught up with her. Fortunately, Detective Krepish arrived in time and began to break the brother. The sneaky escalator brought the guy back to the cop. It took only one blow to send him into a coma. Chapushala was sure that he was heading for success, but he was not lucky. Can flew into his back at full speed. Instead of wheels, only the wheels on the suitcase remained. Chapushala rode on them to a taxi and managed to escape again. Out of anger, the butcher stabbed 2 patrolmen. Chapushala almost burst into tears of happiness when he saw a huge pile of money. But now he needs to somehow get out of Korea. He is already on TV. Chapushala called his friend, Skipper. Can just happened to visit Skipper and found out where he could find the thief. Can realize that he was standing in front of a real clown and did not even kill him. And in vain, because Chapushala saw which bus the scumbag left on and immediately called Crepish. The road was blocked in the tunnel. A polite big guy entered the cabin and asked the passengers to get out for a minute. Ken offered the cop to split the jackpot 50-50. It's easier to negotiate with this cabinet than to fight. But instead, Krepik wrapped a belt around his hand and went to put it out. Ken managed to cut the cop a couple of times, but that was where his luck ended. Ken, like a wild animal, fought back to the last, and when he could no longer move, he switched to threats. Chapushala got drunk out of grief. It turns out Krepik had let him down a long time ago. Back in the taxi, he told the thief that they wrote down the serial number of each banknote. He couldn't escape. It was the cop who sent the swindler to the skipper. Can, who killed 13 people, and the billionaire who ordered his murder were also held accountable. In the bar, the captain suggested celebrating the capture of the criminal with 30-year-old ginseng liqueur.